Tonight's workshop is about creating a repeating pattern. I've been noticing a lot of artists are sharing this technique on social media, and it's a lot of fun, although I've done it right and I've done it wrong. So I wanted to show you that to do a repeating pattern, we're going to be using square paper and let's see, that's not the repeat right there. Where's the repeat? Ah, here's the repeat right here, it looks like. And so these are square pieces, and then you see the repeating pattern here. And then that means that this is going to go, oop, I don't have enough hands, y'all. Let me hold these two like this so you can kind of see. Okay, that gives you the idea of a repeating pattern right here. And so that's what people use. They use a repeating pattern when they're going to design fabric, or if they want to create a background for something, you can create these tiles that are repeating. So let me show you what I have done to get the repeating pattern here. And so these were those individual ones right here that I just showed you, the 4 individual pieces. And then this is the 4 pieces put together. Now, I did not take the time to go in and use Photoshop and clean up these little edges here where the 4 squares came together. But if I were going to create a a repeating pattern for fabric or something, that's what I would do. I would go in and I would fix the little areas right here, the little seams, to be sure that everything lines up just right. But that's the idea. There's your repeating pattern. You see the shell here. There's the back end of the shell here, right? And so then that's the single. Then this is tiling it. So now you can see this one with both halves of it. And here, there's actually a line right down here. There's a line right down here. But once you start tiling it like this, it's hard to make out. Once it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, it's a little more difficult to make out where those tiles meet. And then here it is when it's made into a full pattern. And you see all the shells there, and you see where they're matching up, right? And so that's how you would create a repeating pattern. You might print it on fabric, you might print it on a mug or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you make a repeating pattern. It's going to be of shells, but um, you can do it of anything. All right. So you don't have to follow along with shells. If you want to do it of shoes, if you want to do it of whatever, gemstones, who knows? So let me set these aside. And I wanted to tell you that I have on, if you're on YouTube, you can go to the community tab, and I have some pictures of shells for you. So there's some pictures there of shells that we're going to be using. I actually have the real shells here. Look at this one. Woo! That big one. So I have these shells here that I'm going to be looking at as I'm doing my drawing. Hey, soft spot stamping, welcome in over on Whatnot. I was just saying I have pictures. Now, if you're not on YouTube, because these pictures are under the community tab for you, then on my website, which is right here, let's see, deetsart.com. If you were to go to my website and look at the event for tonight's workshop, um, or after the workshop is over, the reference photos, these reference photos will be in the article that I write for this show. So you can either go to the events tab on my website and get these for this show, or you can go to um, the community tab right now on YouTube, and later you can just look at the article that I write on my website, and you'll find a couple of these shell pictures for you to use as a reference. Okay. Now, even though, like I said, I've seen several artists showing how to do these repeat patterns recently on social media, which is why I wanted to show, like, actually do it together with you. But there's a lady that I follow who I love her. She's awesome. And she is an illustrator. And so I think she has the best information on Instagram about, excuse me, about how to do this repeating pattern process, because you can do it right and you can do it wrong. So with this set of four here, this is 6 by 6 is the size of these. I did it right. And then I also did some artist trade cards in that same similar pattern. And guess what? I didn't get them right. In other words, the tiling is off. Ah, so it is helpful to have instructions and follow along with the instructions. So here, Marianne illustrates. Is it Marianne? Oh, Maryanna. Maryanna illustrates, and I'll have a link to this in the description of the video on YouTube for you tomorrow. But so this is the person on Instagram who I really enjoy her illustration artwork. She just shares all kinds of great stuff, like even the software that she uses to do the editing, and it's a free software. So that's always good too. Welcome in there. Is it Kayla? Over on Whatnot. So this is Mariana illustrates some of her posts on Instagram. And you'll see right here, this one says how to make a repeating pattern. And that's what we're going to do. So I saw it on her channel, and then I saw it on a couple of other channels. And I'm like, okay, this is a thing. I want to try it and I want to share it. So what Mariana has on her Instagram pinned is how to make the repeat pattern. And you know what she did? She actually gave directions. So there's a post with a picture up here, and then she gives you the directions as to what to do in order to make the repeat pattern. So that's what we're going to follow tonight, is this. And like I said, I'll have a link to Mariana illustrates. I'll hold that up for just a second if any of you want to take a picture of it, but I will be linking to her in the YouTube video description so that you'll be able to go find her and find this post with the instructions if you want to print it and follow along as well. So to create this repeat pattern like we're going to be doing here, ooh, that is so much fun. Um, we're going to be using square paper. If you want to take your design and then put it onto the computer and tile it and make it repeat, then you'll need to use a square. But I did these artist trade cards, and it doesn't have to be square to use this same technique. Let me see if I can find where these go together. Okay, one, two. So these two go together here. Can you see where these match up? And then where does this one go? Then I made a mistake here. I made a mistake in the patterning, but here's the other part of that shell right there. And then there's the fourth one goes there. So you can even do this together with something that is not square, but if you want to create the repeating pattern, uh, to tile it out, you want to work with square. So what I've done is I've created 4 squares. We're going to be doing this with an ink pen, so some sort of permanent ink pen. My favorite and Mariana's favorite is funny because I didn't learn about these pens from Mariana. I've had them forever. This is the Pentel pocket brush pen. And so with the Pentel pocket brush pen, you just get these really nice, sort of loosey goosey, multiple thicknesses lines. And I like that. But if all you have is a permanent pen or even a pencil, you can still do this project. And then we're going to, oh, and this paper right here, what I chose to use tonight is hot press watercolor paper. So I'm using a watercolor paper because we're going to put some watercolors on there. So these were some of the watercolors that I was using. These are some other watercolors I have here tonight. So whether it's in tubes or it's in little pans, this is called a pan set of watercolors. Either one will work fine. And that's why I'm using a watercolor paper. But what I discovered is when I did my initial design on a textured watercolor paper, so this is the tiles that I used for my first time I did it. And this is a watercolor paper that has texture to it. And what I found was I couldn't get rid of that texture very easily. Um, when I went to put it into my program to tile this. So I discovered, oh, it's going to be better if we use a smooth paper to do this on. And since I want to use watercolor, a smooth watercolor paper is a hot press paper. Where does it say hot press? Right here. It says hot press. So that's what you want, a hot press. And I love this. The Fabriano hot press is excellent and it's very smooth. And that's what I'm hoping will help with this process. So this is, can you see the surface there? It's super smooth, but it's watercolor paper. So it'll take the watercolor paints beautifully. And then what else are we going to need? A brush of some sort. So I just have, where did I put it? I just have a small watercolor brush here because I'm working on small tiles. I took that 11 by 14 pad that I just showed you of hot press paper and I cut it into because it's 11 inches across. So I cut a 5 and a 5. I could have done a 5.5 and a 5.5, but I decided to do 5 by 5 tiles. So 5 inches this way, 5 inches this way in order to lay out the tiles. You could go 5.5, 5.5 as well if you wanted to, and that would also work. But you just need some sort of little brush like this. Now, the bigger the tiles are that you're going to work on, um, of course, the bigger the brush you're going to need. But this is just a regular round watercolor brush. What size is this one? A size 4. And another kind of brush that I like to use is because you know what? Mistakes happen. Paint goes where it's not supposed to. And so this is a scrubber brush. What do they call it? A blender brush. So this is a blender brush and it's a little bit stiffer. And so it's perfect for doing the cleanup when I don't put the paint in the right place. You have to have a good watercolor paper to make it work, but this little scrubber brush has saved me so many times. Well, like I said, if you've just joined in, let me show you the tiling idea of these 4 tiles right here. We're making a repeating pattern. So do you see the repeating pattern there? I just used Canva, the program called Canva, to make my repeating tiles. So I have my repeating design right there that I can use on anything. Here it is when it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So you can see the design a little bit bigger like that. And I would go in here and where you can see lines right now where the papers meet up, I would just fix that in a Photoshop type of program. But I didn't want to do that for this project. It was just, we're doing it a little more quickly. And also, if you're just joining us, these I have pictures of shells, but hey, if you have shells, use shells. Or maybe you want to do something else. Like if you want to do shoes and you have sandals and shoes around the house, just grab some shoes so that you can be looking at them as we do this process. I have like a starfish here. I have a sand dollar here. I have, these are called olives, these shells right here. And then I'm not sure what these are called. These are kind of like a conch, right? Shape. So I have a whole bunch of shells in front of me that we're going to work with to do the tiling. And so what we're going to do is go over top of the table and I'm going to show you, we're going to follow along with Maryanna Illustrates. We're going to follow along with her instructions. so that we get it right. Because like I said, I got it wrong. Oops. When I was doing the artist trade cards. And so we're going to go over the table. Okay, so I'm going to be taking these tiles. Let me move my watercolor out of the way for the moment because we're going to start out with our drawing. And then after the drawing, we're going to go just pop a little bit of color into it. And those 6x6 tiles that I was using, I just did it on a Master's Touch watercolor pad. And like I said, the paper had texture to it. And so that's why I'm like, okay, I think I need to go for that hot press smooth paper. Wow, this one is so big. Isn't that pretty? Sitting in front of me there. I'm in Florida, so we get lots of shells here in Florida. Let's see. Let me make sure that this is in frame, that you can see it. So we're going to take our 5x5 tiles that I cut out of that hot press paper, and we're going to match them up like this. Okay. Let's get them as matched as we can. Good. There we go. And let me move this up a little bit because it looks like it'll be better for you and the picture. Let me make sure that y'all can see that okay. Oop. Yes, lovely. All right, so we're gonna start out with these. You can see I have a bunch of them. This is the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. I love these things. They're just, they're perfect to throw into your purse or your pocket, on your art bag. It has a brush tip. Oop, let me show you one that has like this lighter one right here. So you see the brush tip right there, and this brush tip works amazingly well. So the first one that I did here, I used black. So that's what I did with these. And the way that you tell the difference between the colors is there's a little band right here, and the cap will tell you what the color is. Welcome in over on Whatnot. Thanks for joining. So there's a gray, a sanguine, which is kind of a red brown, a black, and a sepia, which is a dark brown. Now, these artist trade cards that I did earlier, you can see that I used the sanguine. That's the color that the sanguine makes, is kind of that reddy brown, which is really pretty. I like to use the sanguine and the sepia a lot, but hey, I also use the black a lot. And the gray, you might be like, what the heck would you use gray for? The gray is great for dropping in shadows. So don't discount your gray, okay? And we're going to try that tonight because I haven't done that yet. Use the gray for the shadow, but I know I can use the gray for the shadow. So I'm thinking I'll do that tonight. All right, so we have our 4 tiles together. What does Maryanna illustrate? Let's say, start with 4 equal squares of paper arranged in a 2x2 grid, which is what we've done. Draw your design in the center where all 4 of the squares meet. That's how we're going to start this process. What kind of markers? Okay, Tati, thank you. These are the Pentel brush pen. And so, or I'm sorry, Pentel pocket brush pen. And they're made in Japan. And the nice thing is when you buy them, they come with 2 cartridges. So this is actually, let me show you, this is a cartridge pen right there. So the nice thing about having the cartridges is that they don't run out of ink, right? I mean, they do eventually run out of ink, but what I love about it is it helps the ink to flow. And I love dip pens too, y'all. But the thing with dip pens, and you might be asking, what the heck is a dip pen? Here is a dip pen. This is where I dip it into an ink like an India ink or a Sumi ink or something like that. And then I can draw with this and I get really wonky lines. Hey, Joancer, welcome in. Welcome in. I do get wonky lines like that as well. But I love these Pentel pocket brush pens because they keep delivering ink into the nib It's fantastic, just fantastic. Okay, let me see here. I want to move this out of the way just a little bit so we have more space. Okay, so which one should I use? I think I'm going to use the sepia because it'll still be dark enough. Oh, okay. Joancer says she's at her grandchild's place, so she'll be in and out. Well, I appreciate you popping in. Thank you. We're making a repeating pattern. So here we're going to make sure that these are lined up and that all four corners meet right here. Ah, okay. Well, it's not going to be perfect, but you know, that's the beauty of making original art, right? I'm going to use the one that's the sepia colored. So it's a dark brown top and a dark brown band here. I like these pens also because they, what's called post, the back will go on here and it's very nicely weighted for doing the drawing. And it's just fabulous. Okay. How come these are not meeting up? Because I didn't have it right in the right place. There we go. Eee! Now I've got, now they're intersecting just right. If you're nervous about them staying in position, I have a special kind of tape that I like to use. This is called Holbein soft tape. And it is fabulous because it'll go on and off of your paper. It's super crepey. So it'll go on and off your paper really easily. And so if it makes you nervous to try to keep it together, I can just align the pieces and put a little bit of tape over here. Now, mind you, you're going to be taking the tape on and off, okay? If that's the case. But let's just do this to start. So you can see that if you're more comfortable doing this in order to hold your pages, your pieces together, just don't push down too hard. You're just doing it just enough to hold it. Hey, Granny's got taste. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm showing how to make a repeating pattern in with my Pentel brush pens and watercolor tonight. Okay, so this is the Holbein soft tape. Wonderful stuff. Love it. You can tear it as well. Now, see, I can see that this is not quite right. I'm going to pull this one up just a little bit because it wasn't quite there. I don't want anything overlapping. Nice, like that. And how's that going right there? Butting. I want them butting up. I don't want them underneath there to overlap. Okay. So the lovely thing, I'll be able to pull this up and put it back down and pull it up and put it back down. So um, we're going to focus in the center to start. Oh, it was so much fun. So let's use the sepia for tonight. That's a nice dark, dark brown. And I think what we'll start with is we'll put one of these sand dollars in the middle right there. So I'm going to show you up close what the sand dollar looks like. It almost has what looks like a starfish in the middle. And then it has a couple of holes on the sides here. So I'm just putting it down like that. But if you are on YouTube, you can print off this picture that I have on the community tab. And I have one of those here. I have the starfish. I have a snail shell shape, so the olive. I have a whole bunch of different types of shells for you if you want to grab those. If you know my website, you can also find it under the events tab on my website. Okay, I'm so excited. Let's do this. Um, so I'm going to look at that while I draw it here. And you know what? You don't have to draw it straight up and down either. You can draw it at an angle. That makes it a little bit fun. So I'm going to draw it a bit at an angle. And I'm just sort of going to look at it and see what I was saying about the brush pen. Oh, and the ink just feeds right down into it. And this is permanent ink. So when it's dry, it's permanent. So we can go over top of it with watercolor. So I don't care if this looks wonky, y'all. I'm okay with that. So it kind of comes like this and then bulbous and then sort of along like this and then up again like this. Okay, there we go. And I'm kind of doing it on its side and it's not centered, but that's okay. That's actually what I wanted. So I'm going to do the center of uh, the little star that's in there. Can you see the center? And then let's see. I'm going to start doing the shape of these things in the middle here. Amazing. It's like there's a little starfish. Isn't that crazy? There's like a little starfish design right here. And then this sort of comes like this. So I'm looking back and forth between my actual sand dollar. Let's see, this one's going to come up here, kind of go like this. And then this one's going to come down here and then come back up here. There we go. Nice. There's the center of our sand dollar. And then there's also this really funky little like hole here, right? There's a funky hole. Look up close, a funky hole here, 2 holes here and 2 holes here. So let's do that as well. So we're going to have a little hole right here. And I'm using this, I'm holding it so that the tip is touching. And if I want a little bit of thickness, I just have to move my hand slightly to get that tiny additional thickness. I'm getting sand all over this because sand's falling out of the sand dollar. Isn't that crazy? Okay, there we go. And then now there's supposed to be one here and one here, but you can see that I made these a little bit bigger. So I'm actually going to move them over here. It doesn't matter. It's art. So we're allowed. We're allowed to customize it however we want. Now, the cool thing here is if you look inside the little star shape, there are little lines there. So I like to just a little bit put some of these little lines in here like that. And then like that, because it's just a little bit extra part of the design, right? So we'll go here like this and then just bring some of it. We don't have to do too much because we're going to come back in later and we're going to put a little bit of watercolor paint here. But like I said, though, I love how wonky the brush is in terms of the way that the lines look. I'll bring it up closer for you in just a second so that you can kind of see where this is going. There we go. Yeah, nice. So it depends on what style you're going for, whether you take the time to put in any details or not. You may choose to do your details later with a like an acrylic marker or watercolor marker or something like that. But I wanted to put in some of the details here. Now, the crazy thing is this looks black, but it's actually a dark, 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 dark brown. Okay, there we go, like that. Fab. Now let me bring that up close to you so you can see what it looks like. Ah, remember it's not taped in the middle. So there is the design like that. Isn't that fun? Ah, okay. Let's see what her instructions say. So we're using Maryanna Illustrates. So if you weren't here earlier, I follow her on Instagram, Maryanna underscore illustrates. And one of her posts recently was paint a repeat pattern. And I love her very loose aesthetic. I think it's fabulous. But she made a post that's pinned on her Instagram and she gave you step by step what to do. So draw your design in the center where all 4 squares meet. All right, we did it. Swap the left column So that's the left 2 squares. We're going to move right, and we're going to push the right ones over to the left. So that's the first iteration that we're going to do. Now I'm going to save this tape because it's fine. It's fine. I have my little water container here, so I'm just sort of sticking it on the water container. So this is making the repeat pattern. So I'm just gently pulling this up at an angle so I don't tear anything. But it's nice soft tape. That's why they even call it soft tape, the Holbein soft tape. Okay. Woohoo! We got it. We got it. Awesome. So the first move is to go this one. These left goes to the right, and the right goes over here to the left, but keeping it like this and this over here. Okay. So that's the first tile move that we're going to do in order to create this repeat pattern. Isn't this crazy? This is just nuts. This is so cool. Okay, so now we're going to focus right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this little bit of soft tape just to sort of hold things in place here. Okay. And we're going to put a little bit here. What are we going to do next? Oh my gosh. Oops. Let's make sure we've got it in the right place here. Yep. And so I'm going to put a little bit of soft tape there, just enough to sort of hold that center together. Yee. All right. And over here. All right. Awesome. So now we're going to do something in the center right here. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I think I'm going to save the starfish for when the next thing we're going to do. This time we shuffled them this way. Next time we're going to shuffle them this way. So I think I'll wait to do the starfish until we do that. But another one that's pretty significantly shaped is something like this. So I have in my picture, I have little ones as well, but it's the same sort of idea, right? So I'm just going to set this right here. Eee! Let's see. I want it to kind of go at an angle up like that. Okay. So I could have it straight, going straight like this, or I can do it a little this way or a little this way. Let's see. Since I have one, I can even do this and just sort of play. I'm thinking I want it to go that way. Okay, so I'm actually going to set it in front of me in that direction. That's the nice thing about having it live, right? Is you can mess around with your angles and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start. I may have to take this piece of tape off once I get going here. I'm going to start. I like to usually start with the tip right here on this kind of shell. And so let's start up here with that. And I'm going to do it sort of at this angle right here. So I'm just making little sort of loop-de-loops like this. Now I can see there's a little bit of shape to that. And then there's a line, and then there's a little bump and a little bump. And then there's a little bit more. And they get a little bit bigger as we go. So then there's another bigger bump. And this goes here. And then another bigger bump. And then see if I press just a little bit more, I get a wider line with this. Okay, so that was one, two, three, four. Well, I'm ready to do four right now, aren't I? Let's just get this. And in between, sometimes there's a little section like that. Let me bring it up closer so you can see. You see how I'm starting to build it, right? I want to be sure you can see that, okay? Isn't that nice that I taped it so I can just come right back to it? Okay, so the next section has some more bumps on it, a little wavy and bumps. So I'm going to bring this out, and there's actually a little bump right there. And this, there's like little bumps there, and it just comes around like this. And there's starting to be little bumps along there. Okay. And I also like that there's some little sort of ridges along. So I'm just looking at Mother Nature's creation and sort of just following along, right? Then the next one comes down, and there's an even bigger one of these sticking out, one of these little spines. And then it comes up like this and around like that. And the interesting thing is when I'm looking at this on the side, this sticks out. So I don't want to just make a shape like this. I actually want to get that. So I'm going to bring it down and bring it around. And then I'm going to have this little thing sticking out over here. All right. And then I'm just going to create another little thing that sticks out and another little thing that sticks out and another little one down here. So that's going to start to give you that feel that it's bumpy, right? And then from here, we're going to bring it down, and then it's going to come down like this. And what I like is that there's like a little loop right here. And there's a little dark area in there. And then from here, I'm just observing Mother Nature here. I'm just going to bring this down. And it does not have to be perfect. So do not beat yourself up if it doesn't look exactly like this. This is handmade, right? It's allowed to be out of proportion and totally wonky. It's okay. Okay. So now I'm just going to draw a few suggestive lines here. And I try to have the tip of my pen be just very lightly touching. And that gives you an idea of the shape, right? Because that's what I'm trying to do, sort of give us an idea of what is the shape. So this side, it's going to go this way, and the top, it's going to go the other way. It's going to kind of come this way in, right? So that's what I'm trying to do, give the feel for the direction that it's going in. Okay, lovely. All right, doesn't look exactly like it, but it does not matter. You can tell that it's a shell, and that's what matters. Okay. What do we do next? What do we do next? Now it says, so that was draw in the center again to fill in the new gap. Now, number 5, swap the top row with the bottom row. So we're going to take these two and move them down here. That's the next thing. So let's take this tape off here. The fun is once you've got your corners, then you can start doing these spots that intersect, following along with the same protocol in the way that you move it. Move it vertically first, horizontally second. Okay. So saving my tape there. Now we're going to take the bottom, and the bottom becomes the top, right? Oh my gosh, so fun. Okay. We're matching up the lines up here, getting that all matchy. We're matching this up here. Okay, tape time. So let's do this again. Now you notice there's nothing here, and then you see here where there's nothing here either. So we just did the top to bottom shift. Next time we're going to do the right to left shift again, and then we're going to have another empty in the middle there. Isn't this cool? So fun. Okay, let's get this where it looks correct. There you go. There we go. Duh. It's not quite exact, but you know what? I'm human. So, and it's handmade, so it's not going to be exact. Okay. Let's do this right here. Put it over here. There we go. That holds it. Right? Isn't this soft tape great? It's so easy to like go on and off. And it's nice and soft, so it'll hold things in place, but it won't hurt anything. Okay, awesome. Oh, what are we going to put in the center here? Maybe this is where we do the starfish, right? So there's the starfish. Again, I don't have to do the center in the center. I can do it a little off one way or the other. So where do I want it off? This is not quite okay. Where do I want it off? Where do I want it off? I can sort of, because I have a real one, I can sort of audition it. And I am looking relative to my other designs here. So maybe like that. All right. And what I did with the starfish is I actually started with, this is the underside of the starfish, but can you see these little grooves right here? They're not on the top, but I like having those grooves because they help me to determine where the edges are. So I'm going to start out with the grooves. So I kind of give myself a little, you want like a little five-sided, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's sort of the center of it on the top right there. And then right here, we're going to come off of there. And let's see. So I'm going to come off of there with a really skinny little loop. This is how I'm going to do the starfish. And that's at the point of each one of those 5, the pentagon right there. That's where we're putting these. And they just sort of come out like this, and they're just really skinny. And then this side over here. And then I'm going to build I'm actually going to build the starfish around these. It just makes it a little bit easier. And instead of trying to hand do a starfish. But at each one of these corners, I'm just putting these little grooves. And then this one right here. Try to keep them about even, but it's hand done, so it doesn't matter if it's not exactly even. Okay. So now that I have those grooves, I can go ahead and do the outside. And so the outside is going to, now I have a guide, right? I have a guide to follow along. And you want to have a little V in between there. And you want to have it come to a point like this. And then come to a point, come out here, have it come to a point, bring it back in here. Right? And then we're going to end up with a starfish. Woohoo! That. And that just come here. Nice. Okay. So the starfish is not perfectly angled, but it doesn't matter because what? We're doing this by hand, right? We are doing it by hand. So it's fine. It's perfect in my eyes. So now we've got a starfish there. And now we have to do the move this direction because last time we moved this direction. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're coordinating. First we go this way, then we go this way. Okay. So it says draw the center again, repeat left, right, top, bottom as many times as you need. So we just did the top to bottom. So if you need to, you can write it down. So let's write it down on a little piece of paper. So what did I do here? I did, just going to write on a little piece of paper that I did left, right, and then I did top, bottom. So I'm just writing it like this. And then now we're going to go left, right again. And then that way I know where I am in the sequence, because if you don't do it in sequence, your design's not going to tile right. And I can tell you that by experience. Okay. So now we're going to go. Now we're going left to right again. So here, left to right. Yay. And that's one full cycle. Because now we're going to have something in all of our corners, right? So this is the last of it. So I just did a left to right. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and tape these down. After this, it's a matter of putting things on the edges here and then putting things in the center. Let's use our soft tape to hold these together. You can do it. Okay. Nice. And then let's move these two right here. Let me get my other soft tape. Hey, Misty's Creations. Welcome in over on Whatnot. I'm showing how to create a repeating pattern tonight with my, all right, my pattern's getting out of whack. Let's see, let's make sure I've got her at the right position, somewhat right position anyway. Okay, and then so we're doing it on watercolor paper, and then we'll go ahead and do watercolor paint on top. Okay, there we go. So that was, again, the left to right, and we've got our last center to do. Let's see here. I'm using the sepia Pentel Pocket pen, Pentel Pocket brush pen. Okay, so now, let's see, these are not quite touching, but you know what? Everything else is pretty much where it needs to be. So we're going to go with it. Which one do I want to do in the center here? I have this really cool shell here. Ooh, maybe I'll do one of these. I really like these scallops. Aren't they cute? These little scallops. So I'm going to look at the scallop. And I think I'm going to angle it just a little bit. So I'm going to angle it a little bit in that direction. And with the scallop, I usually do this little front area first, and then I do the wings after. So I'm just going to do this little bit right here, like this. And then it's going to come out like this, right? And then this is going to come out like this. Woo. And the little wings come in here like that. And then a little wing sort of comes there, right? That's the front part of the scallop right here. And now I get to do some fun here. This is what a big one looks like. So you can kind of see it a little bit better, right? In the way that you have the little wings, you have this front part, and then along here, it comes up and it starts doing its little, this, right? And then along here, like that. So it's not symmetrical, but it doesn't matter because what? I'm hand drawing it. So now what I like to do is put some of these lines in here. I'm just going very gently with the tip of the pen. I usually do the center line and then I start radiating off in both directions here from the center like this. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're hand drawing it. It's okay to have a wonky illustration style. And then we're going to do the same from over here and just bring it out this way, like this. Cool. Fabulous. Maybe I'll do it like this so you can see it a little bit better. Yay. And then another little one there and another little one right here. Okay, cool. Now, there's actually a little bit of marks here as well. So I'm going to sort of do this very lightly, but I'm going to sort of do it in this direction like this. So I'll bring it up so you can see here in just a second. I'm just suggesting right there. Let me put my pen down so I don't make a mess. There you go. So there's that in the middle. Now, at this point, before I shift again, I can start doing some designs on these edges here, 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 and here, where they're matching up. Okay. Um, because I've got my big, every corner is now filled. So now I can start doing these edges right here. So I'm still leaving the tape here. So I can just do something that's going to overlap that edge. You don't have to overlap the edge if you don't want to, but I like to overlap the edges, the other edges here, 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 and here as well. So let's look at what we can put in there. I like this shape a lot, this shape of shell. So what direction do we want it to go in? It probably needs to go like that because of the orientation of the space. So now I look at my shells and I see, okay, I'm going to start it up here. Oops, let me move it over here so it's a little easier for me to look at. I'm going to start it right here like this. And this is just sort of concentric movements. And then we start to get this going on here. So let me bring that up. So I don't think I showed you the shell in the middle. And now we're doing that part right there for the other shell. Is going to go over that. So it's going like it's facing up like this. There we go. And then it angles like this. And then as we start to get a little bit bigger, okay. And then there's actually a little area right there. And then this is where we're going to bring it up. It comes up and then goes around and down. And then we have the little loop that goes right here. I'm just observing. So if you have any shells at home, it makes it a little bit easier to do this if you have something right in front of you like this. There we go. So there's the shell. Now it's a little close to this shell. It doesn't matter. What I did in my other design is I actually had some shells going underneath other shells to give you perspective as you were doing it. Let me see. Where's another one where I did that? I'm looking. Oop. This one's going underneath this one. This one over here goes underneath this one. So it's okay if they overlap. You don't have to keep them from overlapping. And I'm going to look at the design that's on here in order to create, just give myself some visual cues in terms of the design. And then there's a line that kind of comes here and then like this. And then most of this, there's also some visual cues here. This is just so that when I go to paint it, I have an idea of a design for that. And there's another like sort of set of lines here. And then of course these lines go here. Kind of giving you an idea of the shape. There we go. So now I took that, and does it look the exact shape? No, it doesn't, but it doesn't matter. Because what? You can tell they're shells. We're hand drawing. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, okay, okay. What am I going to put here? I think I'll put this shell right here. You see the snail shell right there? Isn't that cool? Oh, I think this is actually a land snail, not a sea snail, but it doesn't matter. It's a snail nonetheless. And so I think I'll do the snail here. And maybe I'll do it so that, let's see, I'm going to make it a lot bigger than um, the design you might think right there. Let's see, I'm looking at the center of it, and it sort of goes like this, and it comes around, and then it comes around like this. And then it sort of comes almost straight in like that. Ooh, nice. Okay. And I can see that there are lines radiating up like this on it. So I'm just giving a suggestion, almost like a nautilus shell, right? In the way that it's coming around. And I'm going to come back in and I'm going to be putting paint in here anyway. So it doesn't matter. But just to give an idea of the direction that it's going. Ah, okay, fun. There we go. That was another shell on there. Now let me look here. What I'm wondering is there's a little tiny space right here. So before I go too far, I may want to put something in that tiny little space right there. And there are these super cute little, I call them angel wings. So let me show you what they look like. They come as a match set because they're normally closed, right? They're like a little mussel shell. And so when I have a little space like this, I often will put one of these, just one instead of the two. I'll just put one in there because they're kind of long and skinny. And so they fit in something like this. So let me go ahead and let me see what orientation I'm going to do. Maybe I'll do it this way. Okay. So I'm going to start it over here. And it just comes up. And then it sort of comes down like that. And then it comes up this way. And then what I think is really cool about these is the way that it has the lines here. They get really fancy as it goes down. There you go. So that's half of one of these little angel wings. And it kind of fills that space, right? Now I have a little space here, but I'm not going to worry about that. Not going to worry about that right now. Let's do this. Let's see. Oh, the next thing we want to do is this space over here, right? We want to do them going in this direction right here. So let's get this all back put together. Back together right there. Ooh, there we go. I'm going to hold these in place so that I can work on. Oop, let's do that. And then this is already dry from before. So let me just make sure that that is in the right place. Eeh. And then I'm going to tape it right there. So it's okay. You can put your soft tape over top of this part of the drawing already. Okay. So now I want to do something right here and something right here. Okay. And then later we'll get to the middle after we fill these sort of areas like this and the areas like this, okay? Um, so let's see, we did do left, right? Okay. So in these two areas, what do I want to do? I just did one of these, so I want to avoid that. But I have this thing called an olive. You see the olive right here? And so um, I think I want the olive to face right here, to face down. I like the olives because they're long and skinny. So let's do this. And it doesn't matter if it goes underneath here, right? If I end up getting it a little bit big, it doesn't matter. So let's start right here. I'm just observing the olive, seeing sort of what the transition is like there. Like that. And then I've got a big one right here. And then this comes out. It comes down here. And then it sort of goes like this. And then this comes down and then across here like this. Whoop. There we go. It's an olive. All right. Now, the cool thing about this particular olive is it has these little triangles on its surface. So I'm going to draw a few lines like this to sort of define the shape. And then I'm going to put some triangles in there because that's what I see on the surface here. So let's do some triangles, little half triangles, like little V's, like this. And then I've got some really skinny ones in here. It's okay if you skip some because they're not all even. All right. And then we'll put some more like, it looks like they're going in the opposite direction on the other side over here. And as they go down, they get a little closer together. There we go. That gives you the idea of what's going on there with the olive. And there's actually sort of a little bit here too. Just add a little bit like that. Nice. Okay. So we have an olive on that side. What are we going to put over here? We have a little more space over here. I kind of like this one right here, where it's got a lot of swirly swirls and it has some bumps on the outside of it. Let's try that one. So what direction do I want it to go in? Maybe this way, like this. So I'm actually going to start out here so I know where the outside is. I'm going to bring it like this. I think I'll just bring it right here. And then this has some little bumps on it right here. You have to kind of look at your paper and make sure that your pen is still touching. Right? Okay, so we still have some more of these coming out along here. And then it just sort of comes in on itself like this. It's going like this. There. So now we've got a shell there. Yay. All right. So that was left to right. Now we need to do top to bottom again. So I'm taking up, if you're just joining us, I'm doing the process for creating a repeating pattern. And I'm following along with Maryanna Illustrates. So this is her Instagram. It's Maryanna_illustrates. And she has a post here that's pinned about how to paint a repeating pattern. And in that post, look at that. She has the directions for you. Isn't that nice? So what I've been doing is keeping track of which directions I've been going. And so now I'm ready to do a top to bottom, right? Top to bottom here. Because you need to follow the right process in order to assure that you're going to be able to be able to tile it and have a repeating pattern. Okay. So this is where I'm going to focus right now is um, putting shells in these two areas. And then we can go hog wild on the middle. So right there. And I'm using the Pentel uh, brush, pocket brush pen. And it is permanent when it's dry. Woohoo! Yeehaw! So I'm able to go back over top of it with this Holbein soft tape when it is dry. It won't hurt it. Okay, there we go. And you know what? I can actually take a little piece of soft tape and also put it right there in the center if I want to, because I have a design there. Isn't that beautiful? It's so pretty. Oh my gosh. Welcome in over on YouTube. Thanks for joining me over there. If you could give the video a thumbs up on YouTube, that would be awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So just a tiny bit. This was the Holbein soft tape. The cool thing is you can get it in different widths. I think this is the 1/2 inch, or it might be the 3/4 inch. Look at that. It doesn't say on the inside, but it'll be linked in the description of the video on YouTube later tonight. Okay. So now I need to do these two areas right here. And then we're going, so that I just did top to bottom, right? I need to make sure that I put it on my list, top, bottom. That's what I just did. So the next iteration is going to be left to right. All right. So that you're keeping it going in the right order. Okay. Nice. So now we have to decide what's going here and here. Well, you can see this is a small space. So I can do oh, this is a really cool one right here. It looks similar to a limpet. Do you see the bottom? There's a little shelf there. And I think that's what it's a type of limpet, I think. And so since there's more space up here and less space down here, I want to do it so that the thinner side is here and then gets fatter up here, right? So I'm looking at my limpet and I'm going to, there's a little area right here. And then it comes like this. And then it sort of comes like this. There we go. There's our limpet. And now I'm going to put some lines for the direction that the shell was growing. Like this, right? And then there's some interesting marks on this little guy. I like that little shell. Did I put it in the picture? Let me see. One of the pictures has it. It's not in this picture, but I gave you a second picture and it's in that picture. So on my website under the events tab, you can find these reference pictures for this show. And later when when I write my article on my website, you'll be able to find the reference pictures there too. So I'm just sort of following along with some of these designs here, making some marks, just random marks along here. And there's like a big mark that comes up in here. So just a few little marks just to give you the feel of what it looks like and the direction that it's growing. Ooh, this one has a whole bunch of little dots here. Now later I'm going to come back in with watercolor paint. So any faux pas that you have, I can just use paint in order to fix, fix. So there are a few little marks up in here as well. There, nice. So that is that limpet shell. And that took care of a small space that we had there. Now I've got a bigger space over here. Who am I going to put over here? Who am I putting over here? Now I've got a, this is the olive, see from here. And so I'm thinking maybe an olive over here. And I have a couple of different olives. Here's a different one with a little bit different design on it that I'm using for reference. So this olive was facing down. So this olive, I think I'll slightly, I don't want it to go like this because this shell is going like this. So I want to just bring it a little bit like that. There we go. And so let's go ahead and get our olive going here. So this is just your little loops, loop-de-loops we're doing here. The olive has lots of little loops like this in the beginning. And then it begins to go a little bit more like that. And we actually have some marks here. And then we're gonna go sort of like this. And then there are a bunch of marks along here. Nice. And then we're gonna bring it back. Bring it back. So it comes back here like this. There's a little like that. And then this one, we're gonna bring it down and across and up. Hey, it's an olive. It's not quite as skinny as that is, but you know what? It's okay. It's still an olive. I'm just gonna put some lines in here. I'm looking, it has lines going in this direction. Also, again, like that. I'm just barely skipping the tip of the pen there. And then this has just some little spaces right along here. And then a little bit more up here, like super skinny. So not exactly like this one. I try to make each one a little bit unique in the design. This actually has a design that goes across like this. There we go. And then a little bit more over here. Boop. There we go. So it's a little bit different design than the one that we already had up there. Cool. Hello. Let's put that there. Nice. All right. That was top to bottom. So now we're going to do bloop, flip side to side, right? Left to right. This is the next one we're doing, left to right. So I'm just writing here. That's what we're doing. Left to right is the next one. And then after that, we're going to fill in the middle of each one. Okay. There we go. Saving that soft tape so we can use it again. And we're going to go left to right. Awesome. So now what we've done is we've created the repeating pattern. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Let me kind of try to get these to match up. Okay. Boop. You know, theoretically, at this point, they're going to match up. Okay. We've got that. Ooh. So what we want to do now is we want to do this line and then we want to do this line where they're intersecting together. Let me get this. Oh, I can do these. I can do the whole thing right here, can I? Just get that right there in the center. Nice. With the soft tape. Then, ooh, this actually needs to come. Okay, I'm just looking. I need a little tiny adjustment here. There we go. Good enough, I think. Good enough for right now. It's not exact, but that's what you use your aftermarket software for, is to match up those edges. So let me just do this right here. So when I say aftermarket software, what I'm talking about is something like a Photoshop. But this lady, Marianne, that I mentioned to you, um, Maryanna Illustrates, she actually has a post on her Instagram where she tells you her favorite free program that does all the stuff that Photoshop does. So that you don't have to pay for Photoshop. You can watch her video and then go in and possibly use the software that she's using to do all of this matchy work. Okay, so now we have a spot here and a spot here. And after that, we can put into the middle and make each one unique that way. And then we'll have our repeating pattern. Oh, it's so exciting. So exciting, y'all. Okay, okay. What shell? What shell? So we have the starfish here. I don't think we want the starfish. We have the olive here, and we have the limpet here. Ooh, so maybe down here, I want another one of these. Want another one of these right here. Now, see where the purpley design is on that shell? I leave that for the watercolor. So I'll put these lines in. But then when I come back with the watercolor, I'll put those little random purple marks right there. Okay, so let's do it here. And since this is facing this way, I think I want to have this one facing that way. Okay, so I'm just going to put my shell right here so I can see it and go ahead and draw this. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to bring it down here. So I've got this is the front, and then it comes out like this. And then this side goes out like this. And then we start bringing it up. And then we start bringing it back down. There we go. Now we're going to put a wing over here. And then we need like another little wing over here. There we go. Yay. And what am I going to do? So it's fine that it's partway over here, right? Because what can I do? Over here, I don't even have to cross over there in this section. If I don't want to, I can leave that space. Because uh, if you think ahead of time, and you may want to put words like the word beach, the word sand, the word sandal, the word bench, ocean, whatever. You may want to put words in here. So if you want to put words in the tiles later when you're building your design on your software, like I said, I used Canva to do mine. If you didn't see it earlier, this is the tiles right here with the repeating patterns. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 4. And if you leave more space in between these, then you can put words in there. All right. So you don't always have to fill everything up. You just think ahead a little bit if you do want to leave yourself some words. Okay. Now we're going to do the little itty bitty lines. So I'm being very easy with the tip here. That's what I love about this Pentel brush tip, the pocket brush tip, is that you can barely touch the surface and get these beautiful thin lines right here. Or push a little bit harder and then you'll get thicker lines. Okay, let's do this. I'm trying to not do it too dark, kind of have a little bit thinner lines here. But that is a-okay if they come out thicker. There we go. Nice. Let me just come in here and do this just a little bit more. And then these are going to come along like this. Oh, I like it. I like it. The funny thing is, whenever just with my hand, whenever I'm drawing scallops like this, I always make them skinnier than they look. Because if you look at that, that's like almost round, right? But when you look at mine, it's like mine's all drawn. It's like, it's my hand-eye coordination. That's what happens. Okay, let's look up at the one up here and see what are we gonna put there? What are we putting there? Um, oh geez, what are we gonna put there? I like to look in my other sections and see what's there. Like we already have one of these there. Maybe I'll put a sand dollar. What if I put a sand dollar over here? Just make a smaller one, smaller version. Okay, so let's do the outside of the sand dollar. So I'm going to start here. Just going to do a smaller one. And it's okay that it, remember how I said it's okay if it kind of overlaps? Okay. So then we're going to do the 5 pointed star toward the center, or is that like that? 5 points. And then at each point, that's where we're going to do this part right here. Comes right off of there. What's that called? A pentagon, right? So we're just going to pull this off of each area where the pentagon is. Look at that. Nice. And then we'll have the center of the sand dollar. And then I'm going to say that this is where we have the big hole right there. And then we're going to have a small hole right here and a small hole right here. Right? Then we're going to have another hole. I'm going to put another hole right here and another hole right here. There we go. Sand dollar. And I can choose to put those little marks like I did here, or just leave it like that. What the heck? I don't have to put the marks. So there's a sand dollar, and it's okay that it's underneath something else. It's all right to show that depth. Okay, so that was the covering that part of it. So now we've got matchy all the way around. So now we can just fill the center with whatever we want at this point. We're done with the top, bottom, left, right, because we've got all the edges that match up. Now we can just go ahead and put shell designs in the middle of each section here. So one of the things I definitely want to do is I want to put a set of these wings. So like the little angel wings, and I'm going to put them together like this, right? I'm going to put them together like that. I'm going to draw them together anyway. Right? I'm going to draw them together. Maybe I'll draw them together right here. Or let's do this right here. I'm looking at them. Oop, I think I want, what direction do I want them to go in? That's why it helps to have the physical, right? Maybe there's something else that's small that I can put in here. Yeah, okay, this little screwbally guy right here. You see that? Hey there, fragmented artists. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm showing how to do, make a repeat pattern. And we've got 4 squares here. And I'm using the Pentel brush, pocket brush pen, because it's permanent ink. It's actually sepia, which is a dark brown, but it almost looks black, right? So here's a little guy that's really skinny. So I think we can do this one. and I'm going to do it up. I'm going to turn the paper a little bit, and I'm going to do it sort of facing up this way. So let's, hey, let's do it like this. And it's gonna go here. Again, it's gonna be really skinny, and we've just got some loop-de-loops here. They get a little bit wider as they go down, right? And then we start to get the ribs here. And then a little bit bigger ribs here. Right? And then it's gonna go up like this, and then it's gonna come down like this. And then we're gonna have that little thing right there. And then this is gonna just come like this. There we go. It does not look like that, but that's close enough. So let's bring some of this here like this. And that one goes like that. There we go. It's a shell. And it fit in that spot, right? Yay. All right. Where is my starfish? Is right there. So I think I want to put a starfish right in here. So let's do the starfish like this. So again, I'm going to do just a little shape in the middle here, like this, sort of like that. And then I want to do this comes here. I'm just doing those little areas on the inside. We're not. And then I'm going to I'm going to do the outside. Okay. So here we'll do this here. And we'll do another one. Do this one right here. And then we'll do this one right here. One in this direction. So that's not the actual star. That's the underside of the star. And I find if I do these little canals here where their little feet are, it's easier to draw the top of it. Okay. So now we're actually going to go in to the little V's in between each one of these and create our legs of the starfish. So starting in the middle there, I'm going to come up, and then I'm going to come back down here. And I'm going to come up, and I'm going to come back down here. They're pretty skinny at the top there. There we go. And then eat. It's a starfish. Okay. There we go. So now we have the big starfish here, and we have a little starfish here. And I have a little bit more space. So like I said, I could purposefully leave some of the space here so I could put a word here, or a word here, right? After the fact, as I'm tiling it on the computer. But I think right now, I think I want to put this little one of these, and I'll just do it this way. So I've got the soft tape holding it in place, so it makes it a little bit easier to move, right? So I'm just going to do this, and it comes up this way, and then it comes down, way down. And then it comes like this, and you've got like that. Nice lines like that. Okay, that's that one right there. I'm going to leave that little space right there so I can put a word in there later if I want to. All right. What else do we want? So we have 2 starfish and 2 of the sand dollars. I'm very happy about that. I've got this big one going this way. So I might want to, let's see, here. Which side do I want to do it on? Where I have one that's going down. Now I've got one here. I'm looking at this little guy right here. And so maybe it'll be best if it goes down right here. So let's just start it here. So I'm just holding this right there so I can see it. And then let's just start this little bit right here. They're so tiny, the beginning of them. And then they start to get sort of bumpy like. And then there's some lines that come around here like this, like that. And then this goes like that. And then it goes sort of like that. And this has, I'm just going from observation, right? I'm looking at what I see here. And I'm just sort of drawing what I see, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm coming up here and now I've got a little top thing there. Okay, I'm looking at what's over here because I don't want to go over top of it by accident. Okay, there we go. And then down here, this comes down and then it starts to come around like that. Okay, cool. That fit. Let's put a few more points in here. I'm just looking at these little points like that. They're little areas that I might want to leave white as I'm painting it. This is an interesting one because it has kind of a white stripe right here and a bit of a white stripe down here. So I'll just put those in. I don't have to get too crazy with details, but okay. So we got one of those in there and it's not going exactly the same direction as this. What else do we want to put in here? Over here, I think a little scallop. There is a scallop over here, but oh, there's this one. I like this one. No, you know what I like? Oh, look at this shell with all the knobbies on it. You see that? Let's do it going in this direction. So I can put it down and I can actually look at it. And I'm okay if there's a little bit of space because I can either put one of the angel wings in there or I can use it for words, right? Later after the fact. Okay. So I'm putting this and then I've got a whole bunch of little things here. There we go. And I've got more that comes out the back like this. Comes down and I have just a little bit more that comes over here. And then from here, I've got another one that comes around here. This is a really cool shell because it's very knobby. And then it kind of does this and then does this and then comes up and goes in there. And then there's that there. Okay. And there's just a little bit more that comes from here. And there's actually little spots right there. Okay. Yay. We got it. We got it. We got it. And then I think that I need a little angel wing in there. Another thing is after you've done your design and you put it into the computer and then you go, oh, okay, I need to fill this space or fill that space and a word is not appropriate, you can always go back and draw in another design, right? Yep. And then rephotograph and then put it back up. Okay, maybe I'll put the pair of wings right here. Let's do that. So I'll just do the pair of wings like that. Yee. the pair of shells. So we'll just go from here and I'll do one that comes down like this. And then I'll do the other one that just comes up like that and down and up like that, right? And these have a little section right here. And they come out from here and then way down and around. There we go. Nice. Fabulous. Love these. Let me bring them up closer for you again. So they come in all different colors. You'll see purple ones and orange ones. These happen to be pink ones. And I just love, they're perfect fillers. These little angel wing guys. Okay. So this one I would say is done. This one I would say is done. Notice there's a little bit of space over here. If I wanted to put a word, a little bit of space here, a little bit of space here, right? Possibly a little bit of space here. If I wanted to put beachy kind of words in there, right? Okay, so what are we putting over here? Over here, over here, over here. I think I'll do another scallop shell. I do have a part of a scallop. See, this part of the scallop hooks up to this part over here. So if I put a scallop, it should probably be facing, this is facing this way. It should probably be facing this way and maybe down in this area so that there'll be more in between, right? So I'm going to hold this one in my hand and let's go ahead and let's see if I can do this a little bit better. See, there's one here. Now there's going to be one here. Maybe I'll do it just not quite at that angle because there's this one. There's this one. Ooh. I was going to say, what if I turn it around this way? That could work, right? It's okay if it's going in the opposite direction, sort of the opposite direction. Okay, we'll do it this way. So to start the shell, I do my little, just like a little E, a little U shape right there. And then I bring it out that way and out sort of to match it this way. And let's see if I can get it nice and round this time. Okay, come on. Make it nice, nice and round. Let's bring this here. A little bit rounder, right? And now we're going to put the little wings on here. So this just comes down and around like that. And here, down and sort of around like that. Nice. Okay, this actually, this one has very strong lines going this way. So I'm going to have to actually turn it like this in order for me to do it the right way with my hands. Because now I'm going to come here and I'm going to put in that center line and start coming out from there with my other lines. Nice. All right, almost done with that one. Fab. Fantastic. Very fun. Okay, got it. Got it. See, it's still long. It's not skinny. I mean, it's not round like the real one is, but that's just my hands. What can I tell you? Okay, so that I feel good about that. Now we've got to put some more things in here, right? So I'm constantly looking at what do I have? What do I have? This one is beautiful. Can you see the shimmer? This is like a mother of pearl, right? On this one. It's just look at the inside of it. It's beautiful and shimmery, gorgeous. Okay, so and what I like about this one also is it's very simple. So I'm going to put that. I think I'll do another. There's an angel wing here, but I think I might put another one in here going in that direction. But let's put this one. Where do we want? Ooh, okay. I'm thinking we might need an olive here. Let's see. Let me look at my olives first. Oh, there's another olive over here. Okay. Because I'm thinking we should probably have an olive going like that, maybe in that direction. See, there's an olive here. There's an olive here. So I'm always looking at my overall design here. Let's see. See if I try to put an olive, I can put an olive right there. But then this is going this way. And yeah, it's too much, too much, too much. And there's an olive there, so I don't want to put an olive right here. What if I do it kind of like that? I can still put this one here then. And I can do an angel wing maybe right there. Ooh, okay. I'm thinking maybe I'll do this guy right up here. Maybe I'll put that right in there. Let's do that. I'm looking at where the other one is. You know what? This should go down here because look, this one is, this one is right here. So this one's going to have to go down here. All right. Back to what we put here. Oh, here's an interesting one. It's smooth and it has these interesting lines going in all the different directions. So maybe, yeah. There we go. Not that way, that way. Okay. I'm going to actually put it right here. So it just comes down like this, and then it comes up this way, and then it comes over, like this. And then it just comes way down here. And then it connects up. So it doesn't look like much in the picture right here. Let me show you. That doesn't look like a lot, does it? But now I'm going to follow along with the design that's on the actual shell. And that helps to make it make sense. So this comes like this. And then there's another little line that comes down here this way. Right? Now it's beginning to look more shell-like. And then there are some loops that come this way, like this. So that's what makes it look more like a shell. The outline didn't look much like a shell, but now once you put in these, you define the shape a little bit better. Now it looks like a shell. There we go. You see that? There we go. Nice. All right. And what else are we going to put in here? I think right here, I'm going to put the skinny guy right here. Right? And then I can do another angel wing up here. So let's take one of the angel wings and I want to do it in that direction like that. So I'm looking at it and let me bring it closer to me. Looking at it. So I'm just going to do it from here. It's okay if it goes underneath this. So I'm going to bring it this way. And then I'm going to bring it under here. And then it's going to come down like this. And then it's going to come up like this. There we go. And then what really makes it is when you start putting these rings in, right? So they're going to come like this, and another one will come like this. And another one will come along here like this. Nice. Okay, cool. It's okay to have one on top of the other. And then this one, I'm going to put this one facing, I think facing down right here. Down right there. So yes, I can turn my paper just a little bit. I've got my shell right there. And let's do this. I'm going to try to keep it skinny this time because the last time I did it, this is what it looked like right here. Hold on. Right there. I didn't get it as skinny as I would have liked. So that's what I'm going to try to do this time. I'm going to try to do it a little more skinny from here. So it starts with little, almost a little circle and then little U shapes. And then we can start putting little marks here. And the little marks get a little bit bigger as we go. Right? And then a little bit bigger. There we go. And then a line. And then another line. Now we're going to bring this out, and then it comes like that. Okay. And then this comes down. There, a little bit better. And there's a space here for a word if we want to put a word there. Okay. This we can see sort of the shape right in there. All right, so it's a little bit longer and skinnier this time. I would have twisted it a little bit more that way, but you know, you just never know as you're doing it. All right, so I feel comfortable with this area right here. I'm okay with these little spots that don't have anything in them because like I said, I feel like there might be words or something, or even other imagery that I could pop in there. There's a lot of space right here, which makes me a little nervous. A little nervous there, but there's a lot of space right there too. Now, what we're going to do is after I get all of these sections done, we're going to tile it around in its repeat pattern and see if there's something else, like if that space is glaring and it's standing out, then I can put an angel wing in there, right? To help with that. Okay, what are we doing over here? So we've got a starfish here. We've got the sand dollar here. We've got this big one here. Okay. I've got this one up here, so I think we can do another one right here and make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put that right there so I can see what it looks like. And it starts with a little loop here. And then it sort of comes out like this. And then we just have a little bit here. Each one sort of successively comes down a little bit more. There's another one that comes like this. Ooh, and then we have really big ones. There's another one that comes right here. And this is starting to come like this. And then this has a little thing like that. And then it comes up and around like that. And then there's a little area right there. Okay. And there is just a little bit more right here, like that. So that's what this shell looks like on the side. And then there's a little tiny ridge right here with some interesting marks right there. Okay, so it doesn't look like that one. It's a little bit different, but that's okay. It's handmade, right? Okay, so I'm thinking, what else am I thinking for over here? I think one of these for over here. And since this one is going up like this, and this one is going up like this, maybe one that faces down like that, right? One that faces down. So we'll go ahead and start on this one. I'm going to start down here with the little teeny tiny top right here. And then it gets a little bit wider. And we'll connect those together like that. And then it just gets a little bit wider. Just connect those like that. Okay. And then it's going to go right. What I'm looking at right now is this part, soon to be this part. So it's going to go just a little bit wider. And there are little nubs right there. And there's actually a little nub that comes down below there. Okay. And right behind it, there's some little lines here. Nice. And then we have a part, this ridge right here. It sticks out back behind it, actually. So it's going to come out like this. And then it's going to come out like this. And it actually, from there, does this. And then comes like that. And this part is going to come along here. Like that. All right. So now I've got to put more of these little ones right here. Another one right here. Another one here. Another one here. Another one there. Right? There's a few more lines in here. And then this comes like this. There we go. Cute. And then we can put whatever design we want once it's dry, and we're going to do the watercolor. Okay, so I'm just going to put some, why not? I'm going to put some lines in here. There we go. Cool, we have a little checkerboard design. So I didn't mean for that to go right up against there, but it happens. Just like this one's right next to that. That's okay. And some of them are underneath. But each time you do it, of course, you can get better. And also, if this is in a program like which one? Like Photoshop, I can actually eliminate that line right there and give myself a little space in between those two if I wanted to do that, right? Okay, now we've got this is going to go here. So up there, it's facing that way. So down here, I think I want it facing this way. Maybe go like that. Okay, so I'm going to start it right here. I'm looking at the center right there. Ooh, actually, no. For this, I find it's easier to start out here and get the outside and then come into the little swirl on the inside. So let's do that. I'm just going to bring it down, and then it comes around like this, and then it comes up, and it comes over here. And then it comes in and in there. Okay, there we go. And this shell grows like this. So I'm just trying to be very light with my pen here. So I'm just getting the hint of the direction that it's going in. And of course, they get closer together as they come down in here. That's good enough. You know what it is. Okay, awesome. Now, do I need to fill anything else in, or am I leaving space for words? I think right now I'm going to leave it where it is, and then we're going to tile it. So let's take the tape off. Ooh, moment of truth, right? I'm going to take the tape off here. So it should be ready to be a repeating pattern. Let's see. Let's see how I did. Okay. So let's take these and put them up here and see what we get. So we have our, yay, we have our repeating pattern right there, right? Where we've got the starfish in the center. We've got this here. We've got 1/2 and 1/2. Now let's move these this way. And let's see what we have. Nice. Okay. That looks good. And that's putting the shell in the center. There looks like there's a lot of room here. Let me put this back over here for a second, because it may not have looked like, you never know if it looks like there's a lot of space there or not. Okay. It looks, to me right now, this space right here looks glaring, and it's not the shape for a word. You know, the shape for a word is a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw an angel wing in there, just so that I have something in that space, right? So let's see, which angel wing do I want to do? That's a good one. No, there's just like that there. Okay. Maybe I want this one then. Let's see, let's see. I've got that one right there. We'll do, yes. Okay. So let's take the pen and I will go ahead and do the angel wing right here. Gets a little bit wider as it comes down here. There we go. And then we'll do this. Nice. That looks good. I got it. I got it. I got it. So I think that filled that space appropriately. Now it doesn't look like there's this massive gap right there, right? Okay. So that looks a little bit better. Let me see here. I put these together. There's a nice repeat right there, right? And then we take this and we go this direction again. That's what I had just done. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a big gap over here, right? So that's why it helps to tile your pieces, like put them together, see what they look like. There we go, like that. So there's that big shell right there. That looks good. And then did I do this in the middle yet? I think what I'm missing so far is doing this one in the middle. So let me bring this back up here like this. I think we had the sand dollar in the middle already. And then we do this like this. Okay. Just have to make sure that they're in the right orientation. Okay, good. Good. We got it. We got it. All right, great. So everything's coming together. And now it looks more balanced. Uh, what kind of bothers my eye is this is a little too close to this one. But like I said, I can fix that in post production. Hey, Leanne Phoenix, welcome in, welcome in, over on Whatnot. So when I paint this, I'm going to bear in mind that I want to get rid of part of this right here. I'm going to bring this, instead of starting it where it is, I'm going to start it here so I can use this line to have a little bit of white space, okay, in between these two. So I'm not going to paint that area because I want to be able to easily have it removable from my other programs. Okay, from my other, my software. All right, so now we've got a design that tiles, that goes up and down and side to side. Woohoo! So I can get rid of my tape here and I can start painting it with watercolors. So the watercolors that I did my other one with here, that I did this one with, you see I left lots of white space on this one right here, this one. And so this is this set right here, which is Van Gogh. It's a Van Gogh 12 plus 3, so it gives you a total of 15 colors. And this is a great take it with you set, starter set. The colors are beautiful, easy to replace these. You can replace them with tubes that you can squeeze the colors into from Van Gogh, or you can actually replace these little um, pans. So the back end of the brush that comes with it fits down in there and lifts these out like this so that you can just pull them out and then replace them. Come on, we can do it. So you could pull out the pan and just buy a pan to replace it, or I have the tubes so I can just replace it with the tubes. That is Van Gogh. But for this set, what I wanted to do was I wanted to play with my new, so this is a new set that I made myself from the tubes. So this is Old Holland Watercolor. And they, as it suggests, these are from Holland, and they're in these small, I think they're 7 milliliter or 7.5 milliliter tubes. So that's about half the size of a regular big tube. And I squeezed it into these what are called half pans already. And here are the colors. You can see they're very vibrant. Oh my gosh, these colors are so vibrant. And so a little goes a long way. If you get um, artist quality like that, a little bit goes a long way. So let's move some of our shells out of the way and some of the water. Yee. There we go. And then we can go ahead and use this, oops, to make some of the colors for these. So let me see if that is, oops. Let me see if you can see those. Let me make sure. Yes, it looks like you can see the color chart and you can see the mixing area, which is perfect. Oops, let me move a few things that are breakable, like the sand dollar and the starfish. I'm going to get those out of the way. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just using a simple round brush. This is a size 4. And we're just going to drop in a little bit of color. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but this is a fun way to create a design. Let me get myself a paper towel. All right. There we go. So I've got a paper towel. I always like to have a paper towel in my hand when I'm watercoloring because if water gets on the ferrule, this metal part right here, you want to make sure you wick that off so it doesn't blob your paint. And then also, I like to wick off a little bit of the water so it's not too sopping. I'm going to start with, I don't want to do the ones that are on the edges because I want the edges to be touching like this in order for me to paint those. But right now, I've got this one in the center here, and I've got this sand dollar right here, and I've got this shell right here. So I can do these 3. And I can also, I'm working top to bottom, so I can do these other shells that are not partial, the whole ones. Okay. So let's start with what's up top here. This one is brown. So I'm going to take a little bit of the burnt sienna here. And these re-wet pretty well. I just want to do like wishy-washy right now. I can always come back in and add more color later. So I'm just making a suggestion of color right now, like that. All right. Anything else that's brown? This is brown over here. Ooh, this one's going to be brown over here. So let me just, and then I want to vary it a little bit. So I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3, this one right here a little bit. So it's a little redder, little oranger kind of. You don't even have to like be too careful about how you're painting. All right. You just have some fun. There's some white stripes there. So we'll just do it like that and a little bit here. So this is hot press watercolor paper. It is, that means the paper is a true watercolor paper, but it is also smooth, which is awesome. Now, this little one right here and these little angel wings here, they're pink. So let me get this rose. Let's get some of the rose out there. Ooh, pretty. So let's just do a little bit of, it's darkest right there. Let me add a little bit of water so that it's not quite as dark. So we'll just do a couple of stripes like that. Oh, what the heck, I'll do more here. I like it. I like this color a lot. There we go. Nice. That works. Now, of course, it's underneath the starfish. So I'm going to tap in just a little bit more so that this bottom section right here that's underneath looks a little darker. And then, oh, there's one there and a couple over here. So let me do, maybe I'll add a little bit of orange to this one because it doesn't have to be exactly what Mother Nature intended right there, right? Nice. Okay, there's an orange one. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more, a little bit of magenta in with that because I noticed this is the starfish and the starfish is probably going to be orange. So I want to pinkify this, so make it a little more peachy by adding a little bit of magenta to that. There we go. So it's not quite so pink. Okay. There's the magenta. So now I'm going to come back over here again, make it really, I'm just going to put a little bit like right out here. You don't have to do the whole thing with the color. You can just do parts of it. There we go. Okay. So to make it a little more painterly, right? Now this one, these are also pink, but they're kind of a purpley pink. So what I'm going to do is pick up a little bit of this blue right here. Woo, which is like a phthalo blue. And I'm going to add some of that magenta that I just had on my brush. So we get a kind of a purpley color. Nice. Wow. See, that's what I was saying about these colors. They're so pigmented. Woo. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make marks along here because that's kind of the way that the shell has colors along the, they go in they kind of go along like this. And they're kind of random. They're not in a regular sort of order. Nice. So just something like that. I can always come back after that's dry and add a little pink in between or a little blue in between if I want to. Okay, this one right here is brown. So let's grab a little bit more. I'm going to take a little bit of indigo, just a tiny bit, and add it in with that, this brown right here, just to make it kind of a darker brown, right? Just for the heck of it. So let me just pop this sort of darker brown in here, add a little bit more of the lighter brown along there. So as it goes up, it gets a little bit lighter. And if it looks too dense, just take your paper towel like here and just lift some of that and that will lighten it. Just like that, easy peasy. And we'll just do that right there. So we have a little bit more color at the tip. Let me just lift that just a little bit. There we go. So there's a hint of color, hint. Okay, anything else brown? Yes, this one, but I want it to be a little bit lighter than that. So let's add just a little bit more of that. Nice. There we go. That's better. And so now this actually sort of has brown in these little areas like this. So it's a little bit more spotted, sort of spotted like this. And then there's a little bit of spotting in here. And if it's too much, just lay this in and pick some of it up. But I kind of like where that's going. I think it'll be fine. All right. Let's see. Thinking just a little bit lift. There we go. So it still follows along with the little bit of black that's in there, right? What I'm doing is I'm starting at the top and then heading down that way, because if I do the things at the bottom and then I'm working on the top, I'm famous for getting my wrist in the paint and smearing it. So even doing this before doing this wasn't a good idea. Okay, the this sand dollar, I kind of like to do a little bit of the blue. Let's get a little bit of ultramarine blue. Let's see how that modifies that. It's still a little bit purpley. Let's do the ultramarine blue a little bit by itself there. Lots of water, because we just want this to be very wishy-washy right now. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of blue around the outside here. Nothing too crazy. There we go. Eee, there's something on the surface there. Okay. I'm not being too careful, just sort of putting it around. And then, okay, I can see just a little bit more. I want to just pull this over this way just a little bit more, like that. Okay. But I don't want it to be too much. So I'm gonna pick it up with my cloth just a little bit, pick up a little bit of the extra there. There we go. So you still have the color. You can always go back in and darken the color later. That's fine. Okay. Let's see. This one's mostly white with just a hint of color. So let me just come up here. Of course, the little bit in the back's going to be a little bit darker. That's, and then I'll just bring it along here, sort of follow along with the shape, right? Let's get it a little bit darker right in there. Okay. Just to give it a little bit of depth. That looks good. Because I'm right-handed, I'm going to do this one before I do this one, right? So what color do we want that one over there? I think a little bit more of the burnt sienna here. Nice. Ooh, pretty, 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 pretty. Okay, so this is one of the olives. Just want to put a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And then just in a few places, not too much, just to give it a little bit of zhuzh there. Maybe just around here, around the edge, right inside there. And then maybe just around here a little bit. And then for that middle section where not those little bitty bits, let me get some of this Indian yellow, which I love, Indian yellow. Oop, I don't want that much color. See, I'm just wicking away the color. So what I'm doing is coming in here in between areas, and I'm putting this kind of yellowish look there, just to give it a little something to make it a little bit brighter on the areas that would be a little bit closer. Okay, there we go. Let's put a little yellow here, a little yellow here. That works. Okay, what next? This one, before we come down. Okay, so what am I doing with this one? I kind of like what this one looks like. No, it's this one right here. I kind of like what that one looks like. So let's just put that there as sort of a reference. Now, it doesn't have to be brown. It can be red. Ooh, you know what? Actually, so I've got my Indian yellow, which I already have out here, which is beautiful. And then I can add a little bit of this deep red to the Indian yellow, maybe. And so it creates a kind of an orangey look, but I want lots of water. I want it to be very muted. Let's see how muted it is, right? With red, it's like, red generally is not very muted. Oh yeah, okay, good. Good. So it's kind of muted. Let's do this. I'm trying to hold it together here. And I'm not trying to be too perfect, just sort of getting the idea of the color there. Same here. Just like this, leaving some areas white where the area would be high, right? Like these stick out. So I'm leaving some area around them that's white. There we go. Oh, it's looking good. Looking good. There we go. Like that. And then down this way, we also want some of this, but maybe we add just a little bit more of the burnt sienna in there. So it just changes the color just a little bit. Okay, let me get them together. And then we're just going to sort of follow along with the lines here, not filling the whole thing in, just kind of following along. Oops, no, go back up there. So sometimes I have to hold it so it doesn't do that. There we go. And another thing, I want to bring it together. And I want to just get right underneath here with a little bit darker, because there would naturally be like a little shadow right in there. Okay, and then there's also just a little shadow right here. So it needs to be just a little bit darker right in that little notch right there. Okay, that works. All right. Now, let's look down in this area right here and see what we have. Ooh, we have one of these, but I think I'm going to do that with some of that pink. Ooh, let's do the rose deep. Nice. I'm just adding a little bit of what we were just working with here. So let me look at one of these so I can kind of see what the design is. And we've got some that goes along here. So I'm just being very loose with what I'm putting here, right? And then there's a little bit more along here. Just follow along with the shape, right? Because it's going like this. there's a bunch more down here. Like that. Right? Very random. Just a little bit across there, and then a whole lot right there. And a tiny bit up in here. There we go. Okay. See how nice it looks over here on this purple one where we just have the dots instead of doing like the whole thing one color. It looks good. It looks good. Okay. So we've got another one of these here. Remember, I'm not going to go all the way down here because I want to give myself a little bit of extra space later. So I think maybe let's do the Indian red. I mean, Indian yellow, sorry. Indian yellow. So we can get something that looks a little more orangey. Ah, this is bright. This is bright, but that's okay. We got it bright. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Got another line here. We want to leave some of this white. So we just go in between here. And we leave those little areas there white because that's showing where it's sticking up right there. Oop. Okay. I did go a little bit too close. Oh, well, I'll have to fix that in post, as they say, right? Or not. Okay, that looks good. I like that color. This one should have a little bit of like bluey purple with it. You know what? I'm not going to do purple because I have a purple up here. Maybe I'll do the purple over here on this one, like this. There. Just sort of bring it on that one, the angel wing, because sometimes the angel wings are purple. All right, this one, I need a little bit more blue. Like I have some of that blue. Whoa, way too blue. Oh my goodness, the phthalo blue, or they call it, they have a Dutch name. So I just put the initial S because the Dutch name is like too much for me to say. Okay, so I have a little bit of phthalo blue here. This will work. What I'm doing is I'm just making it look like it's the shadow part here. So I'm putting it next to one that's supposed to be sticking up. Okay, here we go. Just a little bit more. And then just a little bit right here. And a little bit underneath these spots and a little bit right here. A little bit darker right there. Okay, cool. Cool. That works. All right. What else do we have? We have this starfish, this shell, and this shell. So since I'm right-handed, I'm going to start on the left and then move over to the right. And if you weren't here earlier, welcome in, welcome in. I'm doing a repeat pattern. So I used a permanent marker pen and did a design on 4 different tiles. And there was a way that I was moving it all around so that it would give me a repeat pattern. And now we're going back in with watercolor and we are coloring the repeat pattern. Woohoo! With some Old Holland paint. So this is what the Old Holland paint looks like right here. And that's the watercolor that I'm using right now. The paper that I did this on is a hot press watercolor paper. So it's smooth, which made it easier for me to make my tiles. Wow, that's wild. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, there's a big space right there. But you know what? We shall see. If I have to, I can always come back. I know exactly what paints I used. I can always come back. All right, let me move this up just a little bit like that so you can see it clearly. Um, So I'm going to do this one next, like I said, because I'm right-handed. So what that has in it is that has like a red center to it, a kind of a burgundy-ish red center. And then we'll start to make it a little bit browner. Thanks for popping in, by the way. If you're just joining, thank you for popping into the workshop. I am teaching how to make a repeat pattern today. Okay, let's get it just a little bit browner. There we go. That should be just a little bit more brown. There we go. And I'm going to sort of put it around the outside here. So I'm just using watercolor to accent the design. There we go. That's good enough. I can leave some white on it. The white is fine. The white looks good. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to go in with a little bit of this, what is it? The Indian yellow. I love putting that Indian yellow sort of toward the center there where I want some. Ooh, it is so strong, y'all. When I touch this on here, it's like, whoa, man, that is strong. Okay, good, 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 good. Nice. So I'm able to get a variation of color there. Okay, cool. I like it. I like it. And then let me see. Now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you know, the center needs a little something, something. So I think I'm going to take just a little bit of this blue here. Lots of water because I want it to be super light. And just sort of put it around the outside of that, like that. There we go. Just to give a little something different there. Okay. And I'm taking a clean paper towel and I don't want that blue to be too blue. So I'm lifting some of it, right? I just want to give a hint of blue there. All right. So next we've got the starfish. So naturally with the starfish, I'm going to use this golden Baroque red, which is fabulous with a little bit of that Indian yellow. And okay, that is bright. That is super duper bright. So I have to tone it down just a little bit. And the opposite of orange on the color wheel is blue. So I'm going to take just a tiny bit of blue on my brush here so I can tone down that orange just a little bit. Welcome in over on Whatnot and YouTube. So now I'm giving the starfish a little bit of color here. Hello, starfish. Okay, there we go. Ooh. It doesn't have to, the paint doesn't have to be inside the lines, outside the lines. It's okay. It's all good. This is, you know, we're making this by hand. So it's okay if everything is not just perfect, hunky dory. Okay, I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of that dark red and I'm just going to drop it right there in the center. And then I'm going to get plenty of water on my brush so I can just put a little bit of the pinky red here in these center sections. Doesn't matter if the colors run into each other. That's fine. It's all good. Okay, cool. There we go. That's that starfish. Now the last one that we have to paint until we switch our our repeating design is this little one right here. And then we can switch and then do the other ones that butt up next to each other. Okay. So I just need a new paper towel. Wait a minute. I know I have another piece. Yep. Right here. Okay. So so that you can see it better. I wanted to move it up so you can see it a little bit better where we are. So now I've got this one right here. What color do I want that one? Maybe a little bit more brown. So this is the burnt sienna. Okay, cool. I don't want it to be look too much like that. Maybe we'll add a little bit more yellow in there. Oops. Add a little bit more of the, yeah, there we go. You'll see I'm constantly like grabbing more color and just adjusting what's already in my little area here. Okay, let's just take this. All right, it's looking a little too close to the starfish, but if I lift some of the color out, then I'm able to get it to look a little bit yellower, right? So I'm just putting a dry paper towel down and picking up some of the paint. All right, cool. Let's just only do part way here so that that way some of the white still shows through. All right, that looks good. Nice. Not all the shells have to have more than one color in them, right? Although I'm thinking I want to do it just a little bit darker, like along the edge here. Phew, just a little bit darker, dipping into that darker color there. I'm just dropping it in so that it has a little dimension to it. There we go. That's fine. All right. So now we've done the design with this big shell in the middle. Let me put it back there real quick like so you can see where we are. Yee. Okay. So we've got the big shell in the center and it is painted. So now I just need to go either top to bottom or left to right. Either one. It doesn't matter. Let's go top to bottom like this because this is still wet. And if I push this up, then it'll kind of be out of my way as I'm working, right? Now what's in the center? Oh my goodness. So now what I'm going to work on is these, not the ones that are partial shells. I'll do those later when I go this way with the repeating pattern. Just right now, I'm going to work on these three in the center. Okay. Just those three. Welcome in over on YouTube and my Whatnot fam. Hello, hello. Okay. What am I going to do with this one? This one, this one. Maybe I'll do this one next right here. And what color do I want that one to be? This one was blue. Maybe this was purple. Okay, so I don't want to put purple. There's already a pink right there. Ah, what color? What color? I think sort of like this brown over here. So that brown was a combination of my burnt sienna and like the tiniest bit of indigo. So I'm just going to sort of mix the indigo with what I have here. Ooh, that's an interesting color. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So this is this shell right here, like this. So I'm watching to be sure that wherever I'm putting my wrist down is dry. Okay. If I was worried about that, I could just put a paper towel down, but remember, the wetness is still up here. This part should be dry and my hand should be clean. So now I'm going to come in here with this one. And I'm just going to get some of this color right in here. And I'm doing that so that the area where those little ridges are looks like they're white, looks like they're higher. Let me just do this along here like that. And then this is just coming along here, sort of end toward the middle. And there's just a tiny bit in the middle. Nice. Okay. I likey. It's just very simple. Now I feel like here I can just go with, if I lighten it just a little bit with a little bit of Indian yellow that's in there. then I can sort of come here and I've got a little bit of a different color. And I could just add a little, like a second color in there. Just a little bit of beige. There we go. Okay. That makes it look a little bit more exciting and it still preserves some of the white. Let me bring it up closer to you so you can see what I'm talking about, because I know I can see it right up close, but you may not realize what I'm talking about here. Okay, let me put these together and bring it up so you can see the colors that I was talking about there. Okay, that's so you can see what it looks like up close with the two colors. Okay, okay. What am I doing here with that? Starfish. Oh my gosh. The AC is kicked in and it's like cold. Let me just turn it off for a minute till I get hot and then I'll turn it back on. Okay. So this starfish has some of that orange and a little bit of pink in the middle, pinky red. Um, maybe I'll make this one. I don't know. There's some pinky red here. Maybe I'll make it a little more red. So let's get some more of the red in here. This is the colors I'm using are the Old Holland watercolors. Okay. So that's kind of ready, red. Let's do this time, let's do the outside red because I've been in the Caribbean and some of them have very much a red look to them. And see, I've got the blue here and I've got the pink there. So I kind of have to look around and see what's around it in order to decide what color I want it. Because if I did it pink, well, there's a pink one right here. So that would have been too pink. Let's get a little bit more of this right here. I'm trying to match up the different panels. Ah, okay, there we go. So this is Old Holland Watercolors on Fabriano hot press paper. Nice. Okay, I like it. I can see there's just a little bit more that I want to put. I have to hold these down so I can kind of get it to go continuous, right? Right there. Come on now. More color, more color. There we go. All right. And then this one, I did orange on the outside and red on the inside. This one, I'm going to do the, maybe I'll do the Indian yellow on the inside because that's kind of a cool color, an interesting color, right? Ooh, maybe if I bring it into that red just a little bit. Okay. I'm constantly mixing colors, making it look a little bit crazy. So let me just go here in the center like this. I don't mind if the colors mix and mingle together. That's fine. This is supposed to have a very painterly look to it. Okay, that works. The thing is, you can always, after everything is dry and you take your photographs, you can always go back in. It's watercolor, y'all. So you can always go back in and add more color. If you're like, oh, I need this to be a little more punchy, you can even lift color if something is a little too bold and you're like, oh, okay, I have to lift some of the color out of that. I like that. I like it. Plus, I can always come in with a pen or a marker and make marks all over it as well. I suggest, since we're making a repeating pattern with this and it's going to be photographed and then put into some sort of software, in order to do that pattern, I would suggest not using metallic because if you use metallic, y'all, you're not going to be able to see it when you try to scan or photograph it. And that would be sad. Okay. This one. All right. What am I doing here? Ah, maybe I can be more crazy with the yellow on that one. I just love this Indian yellow, y'all. The Indian yellow is so pretty. So let's do it. Let's do it. Just much more Indian yellow. And I think I'm just going to do, oops, no, wait, hold it, hold it. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to make those little maybe I'll just leave the triangles white, right? I'm just putting a little bit in between the triangles. There, put it in between the triangles like that. Juke, juke. Nice. That actually is very punchy. It looks good. It's kind of the same color scheme as this one over here. That Indian yellow is so beautiful. Okay, that works. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift a little bit of the Indian yellow right here because I want the tip of that to be a little bit lighter. There we go. Okay, so that just removes some of the Indian yellow there. And so that is it for, we've done everything in the center. We've done this shell. We've done these in the center. Now it's time to bring it over this way. So these are all wet. So I'm going to be careful when I lift it to try not to mess up the paint that's wet, right? Bring it like that. So this is our repeating pattern. There we go. Like that. Like that. Like that. Okay. Nice. Now what? Now we have this one, and this one, right? We have those three that are full. Oh, and this one, four that we can do. And we're going to do this sand dollar last. Okay. It's coming together. The design is coming together, y'all. And just bring it up a little higher so you can see it a little bit better. Is that the right place? Yeah. Okay, good. Now I have to bear in mind this is wet, so I don't put my hand down in there, right? But now I can do this one. And I kind of like the idea of having some of this darker color. So what did I use for that? I went with the burnt sienna and then I added to it some indigo to get it to turn sort of brown. Okay, that's a really pretty brown. Nice. So I'm like such a mad mixer. I'm like constantly just, let's try this color. Let's try that color. Okay. I think I need it to be a little more chocolatey. So let's grab a little bit more of that. Ooh, now it's not chocolatey. A bunch of yellow got in there. Okay, let's put a little bit more indigo in there. To try to get it to be a little more chocolatey. Okay, nice. I think we're getting there. So let me just put some here. I'm okay with leaving some white space, right? So that's a kind of a light chocolatey brown. So I'm happy with that. Let's do this. And then let's just do this where some of the white is left behind. There we go. So it's a little more painterly. And then right down here, these spots right here, I want to add like a little bit of red, I think, in there. Just for the heck of it. And a little bit of red up in here. Just for fun. Okay. I don't want it to be too red, so I'm going to use my paper towel. And I'm going to lift a little bit of that color out. Nice. So that way it's a little more light. Okay, now with these, I think they're called cockle shells, right? With these that I did before, what I want to do right now is instead of doing spots, so this one I did spots, this one I did spots, instead I want to do lines going this way. And I'm thinking I may want to use, a little bit more of this soft tape because everything just keeps moving around. Come on now. I want it to stop moving. Don't move. Okay. So let's just get this here. And this part right here is dry. So I can put a tiny bit there. I'm just trying to get them. This is that Holbein soft tape. So it is made for artists. This is an artist tape. And I'm doing the repeat pattern, but I'm trying to get it to line up here before I paint it. So I think I'll put just a tiny bit, whoop, tiny bit right there to hold it, sort of hold it in place. Come on now. All right. So I'm going to need to put a little bit over here too. Let's get that going because it just keeps wanting to move on me, doesn't it? Okay. Put that there. And then just another one. Do I want to put it down here? I can do it here because I want to paint this, this, and this, right? Still. Okay. Soft tape. Thank you. So let me just get this here and put that right there. There we go. So now I can feel comfortable. Those are not going to shift around too much and I can go ahead and paint them. All right. Let's do this. This one, I want to put some of that like fun pink in there. Let me get some pink in there. Yee. So that looks very rosy. And I just want lots of water because I just want a hint, a hint. Oh, I'm going to need a little bit more of the deep rose. There we go. That's a little rosier. Yeah. Lots of water, lots of water. So I'm going to wick away some of that water so that it's very wishy-washy. And then I'm going to go from the center here. And I'm just going to pull it out. So where the other ones are kind of, these have spots. This one I wanted to do with lines. There we go. Nice. Just for something different, right? For something different, we're going to add some lines here. Just little lines to the shell. There we go. Nice. For something different. Okay. Okay. And then right here where it matches that wing, I want it to be a little bit darker. So I'm grabbing a little more paint so that that area right there is a little bit darker. A little more paint here because it's sort of in the shadow is what that is. There you go. Nice. Okay. I'm happy with that. See, this cockle shell right here has the spots. This one right here has the spots. Yay. Nice. Okay. So this one, I think I want to make a little bit of purple and a little bit of blue. So let's grab a little bit of purple here. I'm going to do a little bit of purple in the middle. And what's really cool is they often have more than one color on them, right? A lot of times shells will have multiple colors on them. So let me mix a little bit of that phthalo blue with the purple so I get a little bit of a blue variation there. There we go. Nice. Okay. So that one has a cute variation. It's just not just pink like the ones I have here. All right, cool. And then this one right here. So what we've got left is this one. And then we're going to switch top to bottom and we'll have the sand dollar left. That was the very first one that we started with. So this shell, what color do I want it? I think I want to come in here with some of the yellow because that yellow is just so nice. Okay, so just a little bit of yellow in the center. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the burnt sienna Ooh, so as it goes out, it gets a little bit darker, a little more orange, right? And a little bit more burnt sienna, so it gets even a little bit browner. When we come down here, so I'm just making it brown where it would give it a little dimension, right? Boop, boop. There you go. Perfect. That one's done. Awesome. Loving it. Now, remember I said with this shell right here that it has, let me see if I can find it for you. It has, it's going in multiple directions here. So if you look, you've got darker lines here, and then you have your lines that go around like this. So I put the general color in there. So right now, what I want to do is I want to darken this and darken this right here. Okay. So let's see, what color am I going to darken it with? Darken it probably with just this burnt sienna right here. I think that'll be good. Just the burnt sienna by itself. Whoosh, right? So then what I'm doing is I'm showing that the difference there. Cool. Nice. Okay, that works. And then there's a little bit more where I want to show some of that, like the nub right there. And right underneath here, I want it to be just a little bit darker underneath here because it actually sort of comes in underneath that little nub right there. Okay. Nice. Boop. There we go. Awesome. One left. And then we can look at the repeating pattern. It's so exciting. Okay. I'm going to be very careful here. Oops. Okay. I just made a boo boo, which is good. So I can show you how I fix the boo boos. So right here, hold on. Let me just lift this up in case I need this tape again. Okay. So do you see the little spot right there? That's where I'm going to use, this is watercolor paper, good quality watercolor paper. So this is my Princeton Velvet Touch. They call it the Willows blender or a blender brush. This is a, hey, hello, stay home to shop. Welcome in. And this says 3/8 inch. This is my favorite one for cleaning up little mistakes like that. Oops, you know what? I need to put this in the fresh water. That's why I always have a fresh water. So here I'm just, it's damp, not, you don't want it soaking. You just want it damp. Let me just move this out of the way for a moment like that so you can see. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to come in here. It's better if you do it while it's still pretty much wet. It'll come up better. And then I just use the brush and then I'm going to pick up the water, the excess water. That's why it helps when you're doing this process if you're using good quality watercolor paper because it's easier to pick up paint from a good quality watercolor paper. If you're using a lesser quality watercolor paper and you scrub like that, what can happen is that the paper can start to pill. Okay, so let me bring that back down here. Disaster averted. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take off the soft tape and we are going, there's one last shell that needs to be painted with watercolor. It's just this one right here. So we're going to take the top, then we're going to move it down and we're going to move this up like this. Oh, this, isn't it fun to make these repeating patterns? I think it's so awesome. It just, it's definitely a trend right now, which is why I thought I would share it with y'all. Okay, tape. I have to make sure this is dry. Yes, so then I can put a piece of tape right there. This is a Holbein soft tape, so it won't hurt your paper. Okay, right there. Is this dry? Yes, that's dry right there. Let's put that on there. Ah, okay, we're almost there, almost there, almost there to where we can do that center one. This is where we started the process. Okay, let's get you like right there. So I can just put that right there. I have to be careful because I just did that a moment ago. So I don't want to get it on there because I might lift paint off. Okay, fabulous, darlings. There we go. Now that is ready to paint. Ah, what color? That's the question, the $1,000,000 question, right? Um, I'm thinking I kind of want the center there to be a little bit gray. So I'm going to use a little bit of the indigo, and let's put a little bit of red in with it. Ooh, that's kind of burgundy-ish. Okay, I don't want burgundy-ish. So blue, red, yellow. Let me get some Indian yellow. I'm thinking of my color wheel so I can try to do the mix. Oops. Wow. Well, that was a lot of indigo. That was way more than I wanted. So let's grab a little bit more of the red. Okay, now we're getting a gray. That's what I was looking for, was a gray. So you can get grays, especially if you have an indigo, you start with an indigo, you can get grays by using indigo together with, which is a blue, together with reds and yellows. And that can give you a gray. So let's wick some of this away because I don't want it to be too dark. Add a little bit more water. I just want a hint of gray, not too much. And I'm going to put this right here in the center. And I actually want to put it here too. Okay. And so this is the sand dollar. And if you were here earlier, my sand dollars right here, this is what I was using as my reference for that, my sand dollar. Now, these little areas are holes, so I want them to be much darker, right? So let me get just a little bit more red there, a little bit more phthalo blue in there. Okay, and we'll make this, I just want the edges of it to look really dark, right? Because it's a hole that's in there. So I'm actually seeing the bottom or seeing underneath, right? Okay, there we go. And then the rest of it, I want to be a light blue. Light blue. So my favorite light blue right now is this cobalt blue. Let me show you right here. Cobalt blue turquoise light. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So I just want a hint of that. But what I also want to do is I don't want these little spots here to be too dark. I mean, yeah, I want them dark, but not so dark that they kind of take over the whole composition. You know what I mean? Okay. Um, I'm just turning and looking for clean little parts of my paper towel so that I can pick up some of the color like that on the edge, like that, like that. There we go. That's giving me more of the effect that I want. If it's not enough, I could always go back in, right? I could always go back in. Okay, so let's get some of this cobalt. Wow, it's still going to be too much. Like I've got to add lots of water to it. Let's add just a tiny bit of that blue over there. So this is just paint that I've been messing around with on my palette. Oh, it's too close, too close. I need to add a little bit more of this blue, sort of sky blue. Okay. And I just want to make sure I'm not going to put my hand in wet paint here. And let's just sort of go around like the outside here. I usually start around the outside because generally I have a lot of paint on my brush when I first start. And so I just want to put the darkest around the outside here. And then put the lighter version with more water toward the middle. So I'm going to dip into my water Make sure I don't have so much that it's going to drippity drip drip. And then we'll just add oop, a hint up in these areas right here, because this area toward the middle is going to be higher generally on a sand dollar. So it should be a little bit lighter color toward that center. Still just a hint of blue, but lighter, lighter to give you a little bit of perspective. There we go. Ah, awesome. All right. Now, you know what I want to do? Let's see. Ah, I want to put just a little bit of this, but darker, down the center right here. Just a hint. So it kind of ties this part together with the rest of it, just a little bit. So the gray is not so in your face gray. Okay, cool. Nice. Ooh, fabulous. It's the only one with the turquoise on it. Maybe let me look around, see if there's something else that I want to put. Oh, there's a little bit of turquoise over here. So I think we're okay with that. I'm just looking to see anything else. I want to throw a little turquoise on. Little turquoise. I think not. I would just want to do it like right in this area if I were going to do it. But I think I'm good. Okay. So let's take this off of here. Let's take the tape off gently, because I don't want to pull anything off. I don't want to mess anything up either. Okay, like that. Oh my gosh, y'all. This is so fun. All right. Let's take a look at it then. So we've got the, you know what? There's a teeny tiny little bit of too much right there. Okay, got it. So now we've got the sand dollar in the middle. I'm just going to tile it to be sure that everything looks good. Nice. Okay. So there we've got the sand dollar in the middle. Now we're going to move it sideways like this. Whoop. And now we should have this big shell in the middle. And everything should match up. Correcto. Correcto. Okay. So all of that matches up. And then I should be able to move this down and move this up right here. And then we've got that in the middle, right? Okay. So now we've got that in the middle. And that all matches, everything matches up. And then one more time, we're going to switch these this way. And then that way we'll have this shell in the middle. So let's move these two over here like this. And this one right here. And that's how we know we have a successful tile job, right? So now when we do that, we've got this shell in the middle. Woo! I'm so happy. So that, my dears, is a repeating pattern. And it is complete. It is successful. Oh, makes me so happy. Now these are a little bit, you can see the papers are not flat because we've added a bunch of water and watercolor to it. So once it fully dries, I will bend these back so that they're more flat. And then I'll take pictures of each individual tile of the 4 tiles and make sure that I get the photographs very, like I crop the photographs so they're perfectly on the edge. So I have to, when I take the photograph, I have to make sure it's square which is why you can even, once these are dry, you can put them underneath books for a little while if you need to, in order to get them perfectly flat, and photograph them on a flat surface, and move your camera around to be sure that you're getting a good square when you crop it. So you're cropping it perfectly to the edges. And then that way, when you put them together in your program, I use Canva, but when you put them together like this, I can then put the same thing next to itself over there. And this shell will line up with this shell. This star, what is it? Star, whatever. Starfish will line up with this starfish. This little sand dollar will line up with this one. And then when I put another one on the bottom down here in my program, this part, which is the sand dollar, will match up with this sand dollar down here. And then I'll have a full repeating pattern. Oh my gosh, it makes me so happy. And that is how it's done. Oh, that's how you get yourself a repeating pattern. And I want to thank you for joining me for this workshop. It has been a blast. I've had such a good time.